All right, let's talk about that feeling. That deep in your gut stress when you're making a high-pressure crypto decision. Today, we're going to unpack the psychology behind those moments, the ones that feel less like a choice and more like, well, being backed into a corner.
I mean, let's be real for a second. Have you ever had that feeling? That pit in your stomach when the market just turns on you, and suddenly you feel this immense pressure to buy or sell, something you know deep down is completely off your game plan?
The best way I can describe it is this. Picture a boxer. He's exhausted, trapped in the corner of the ring, and he's got no choice but to just keep swinging. That's what we're talking about today. It's not about strategy anymore. It's pure survival.
So what do we even call this? I mean, sure, economics has all these fancy terms for weird market stuff, like inferior goods. But those academic labels, they feel kind of sterile, don't they? They just don't capture the raw human emotion of being trapped in a crazy, volatile market. I think we need a new way to talk about this.
And you can really see what I mean here. On one side, you've got these cold textbook terms. But on the other, you've got words that actually describe the feeling: compelled, cornered. See, these words aren't about some abstract market logic. They're about human struggle. They're about necessity. So let's do it. Let's put a real name to that feeling of being the boxer in the corner. Let's define what it actually means to get cornered by the market.
Okay, so here it is, a cornered good. Now get this, it's an asset where demand actually goes up as its price rises against you. It's totally backwards. It defies the most basic law of economics, and it happens for a very specific, high-pressure reason.
And these crypto examples just bring it to life, don't they? I mean, imagine your DeFi loan is about to get liquidated. You're literally forced to buy more of the very asset that's crashing, just to avoid getting completely wiped out. Or think about the die-hard Bitcoin investor in a brutal bear market. They keep buying more BTC as it falls, maybe because they feel like they just can't afford to diversify into anything else. In both situations, man, they are cornered.
But how do you even end up in that corner in the first place? Well, it turns out, before you get cornered, first you're compelled. This is the key. This is the first step, the one decision that puts you on that path right into the corner of the ring.
So a compelled good is something you buy, not because you want it, but because you feel like you have to. It's your only choice. It's a move you make out of financial weakness, out of necessity, not because it's some grand strategic vision. Your circumstances are basically making the choice for you.
And we see this all the time in crypto, right? When the market is absolutely bleeding out, people flock to stablecoins. Not for gains, but for survival. That's a compelled choice. Or how about chasing those super risky, low-cap alts because you feel priced out of Bitcoin? Yep, that's another decision that's being driven by your constraints, not your conviction.
Okay, so we've got the compelled choice. That's step one. Now, how does that escalate? How does it become a full-blown trap? Well, there are two very specific things that have to happen to turn a compelled situation into a cornered one. So here's how the trap gets sprung. It all starts when you're already holding that compelled good we just talked about. Then, and this is the absolute kicker, you look around and there are no other good options, no substitutes. You're locked in. When those two things are true, that's when you're forced to buy more of the very thing that's hurting you.
And this is where this idea gets really, really powerful. Because being compelled and cornered isn't just about trading charts. It's a lens you can use to understand all kinds of high-pressure decisions in every part of your life. Just think about it for a minute. Using insane leverage because you feel like it's the only path to real gains, that's compelled trading. Or refusing to sell a losing position because taking that hit feels financially impossible, you're a cornered holder. It even goes beyond crypto. Staying in a toxic job just because you desperately need that paycheck, that's a compelled career choice.
And this really gets to the heart of the danger here. The decisions we make out of desperation, these compelled choices, they so often lead to this deep, long-lasting regret. And honestly, that regret can hurt way more and for way longer than the original financial pain ever could.
So, how do we break free? How do we get out of that corner? Let's wrap up with the really important stuff. This is what you need to take away from all this. What you need to remember next time you start to feel that pressure building.
So, let's nail this down. Compelled choices, they're born from necessity, not from a good strategy. You get cornered when those choices back you up against the wall with no way out, forcing you deeper into a bad spot. So the real goal here, the ultimate takeaway, is to learn to recognize and avoid those initial compelled decisions in the first place, because financial pain is usually temporary. But the regret from a choice you felt forced to make, that can last a lifetime. And that brings us to the final thought. I want to leave you with a pretty tough question to think about. I want you to take a really honest look at your portfolio, at your recent moves, and ask yourself, how much of my strategy is actually my own free choice? And how much of it is secretly being dictated by my circumstances, pushing me ever so slightly into a corner?